You're about to watch an incredible presentation from our global online Power BI conference. Not only will you see some powerful reports and dashboards, but also the journey behind how they were built. We are a group of independent Power BI consultants, all with the mission of helping business users leverage Power BI to solve their data challenges and run their business more efficiently. If you need help, contact us at learnpowerbi.com. And if you would like to become a Power BI consultant and create your life of freedom, then check out our program at learnpowerbi.com/pro. Enjoy this presentation and power on.
So I want to tell you a little story, and I want you to bear with me because in the beginning, you are going to be thinking, what on earth does this have to do with food manufacturing? But I promise I'll circle right back around to that. Back in the 80s and 90s, my dad worked at NASA connecting the space centers with cables so they could communicate and exchange data, technical data amongst themselves. And so during school, my summers were filled with internships at NASA working on the science internet. And by luck, when I graduated from college, my entire team from NASA was recruited by Microsoft. And because we had this experience with this thing that was going to become the internet. So when I was at Microsoft, I literally had the best job in the whole world. I got to travel around the world and explain this invisible technology that was coming. And soon that technology was going to link people and places in ways that they never could have imagined. But even though I was at Microsoft and it was a technology company, I never really personally felt like I was a techie. I was always that business user who understood the power of technology. So in all those years that I spent, program manager, product manager, there was always one common theme, and it was connecting the people and technology in unexpected ways. So I was sort of like a translator, I guess, between business users and the developers who would then eventually write the applications that once after they knew what was needed. But ironically, I decided to take a break from high tech, and I went about as low tech as you could possibly imagine. I went and I enrolled in French culinary school. And at the time it was crazy because I barely knew how to boil an egg. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But it was an incredible time and an experience. And that time when I spent unplugged and away from technology, that turned me into what is kind of now known as a foodie. And this was well before the days of social media when everybody got to see everybody else's, amazing restaurant experiences. So it was just a time when food was emerging and really exciting. And so then I graduated from culinary school, and I had the opportunity to work with some of the most amazing and talented chefs in Washington, D.C. And they were so creative. Through those chefs, I learned that food is about so much more than it appears on the surface. Those meals, they're meant to connect human spirits and to transfer into every single bite that love and the passion and the experiences and the culture of the person who crafted it. I know it sounds a little silly, but think back to a favorite dish that you or a loved one makes. And then did you ever stop and think, oh my God, this is just too good to keep a secret. And maybe everyone keeps telling you, you have to figure out a way. You got to get that into the market. So what do you do when you finally decide you can't keep it a secret? What can you do? Well, maybe you would start selling to friends and family, or launching a social media campaign, start subscription services at a farmer's market, maybe even go as far as opening your own small restaurant or shop. But with a little bit of luck and tenacity, people will probably start to take notice, and that momentum is going to build. But then what comes next? How do you continue to grow? How can you ensure that you're going to stay profitable? And will you have the information that you need to make decisions about that next move? So now I want to tell you a story about Joe Fougere. And he has a mission to share authentic Neapolitan pizza. Nearly 20 years ago, Joe was an executive at a really big coffee company in Seattle. And then he decided to take a break and he quit his job to do some soul searching. And then he ended up on a journey. He tells a story about going to Italy to connect with his roots and to learn the true art of pizza making. That was, the living there and breathing and working side by side with those pizziolas. And with what he discovered, he realized that his secret was too incredible not to share. Thus, Tutta Bella was born. And he started out with one Neapolitan restaurant serving that authentic hand-stretched wood-fired pizza. And then he had specialties, including an Italian chopped salad called the Nocco and an award-winning tiramisu recipe. Joe was up to about 5 restaurants in the neighborhoods in Seattle, and a food truck when I met him, and it was 14 years into his adventure. But the thing that I loved about Joe was beyond the fact that, he served this amazing food in his restaurants. His customers were so loyal to him, and his employees absolutely adored him. By then, I had shifted my culinary career to the front of the house, and I'd spent a lot of time working with restaurants to implement simple technologies to improve their efficiencies. And I was also focused on event management by the time, because I took so much joy in helping people plan their life celebrations, and as well as just watching people really love their casual everyday gatherings with their friends and family. And as a side note, I am married to an Italian chef from the island of Sardinia, and we have spent so many summer leisurely lunches with family, giant gatherings out on the patio. And it really makes me laugh when I think about 80% of the conversations that we have during those meals, they're about what we just ate at the last meal, and then what we're eating right now, and then what we're about to eat and have for dinner in just another few hours. It is so amazing, like the power of food to bring people together. But anyway, so I joined Tutta Bella, and it was like most restaurants. We had very basic point of sale systems, register systems. We had a little bit of accounting software. We had a website and a handful of email accounts. And then immediately I kind of added an event software program to the mix, and then off we went. Business was booming, and the restaurants were thriving at the time, because 2019 was a banner year for the restaurant industry. The income levels were rising, hospitality was at the forefront, and there was an explosion of cuisines available for diners to choose from. With this really crazy strike of luck, someone in the grocery industry took notice, and Tutta Bella was invited by one of the largest grocery chains in America to open 2 authentic wood-fired pizza kiosks in the grocery deli departments. And the goal for the retailers was to elevate the options for in-store shoppers. So to complement the line of fresh pizzas, Tutta Bella and the retailer wanted to introduce premium grab-and-go salads, because what was found, previously was, very basic salads that, that were mass-produced. So our chef and our team, they went to work to try to design recipes and packaging that could keep the items perfect for that journey from the store to the customer's kitchen table, while still upholding that quality and artisan elements that was demanded by Joe at all of his restaurants. And a new line of packaged salads, pastas, tiramisus emerged, all based on our authentic Italian recipes. But because of the incredibly delicate nature of our thin wood-fired pizza crust, perfecting that new line of take and bake pizzas took a really long time and a lot of research. But oh boy, was that really, it was worth the wait. The pizzas are wood-fired, and they've got, just they're so thin that finding ways to keep them to hold up was really challenging. So, as everyone knows, things came to a screeching halt in March of 2020, especially for the restaurant industry. And many business owners, they had to just shutter their doors and walk away. But something that you have to know about Joe, he isn't just really passionate about sharing authentic food with the world. He is a business leader and he genuinely cares and inspires his employees. So he took out personal and business loans and applied for grants just to keep things running. And for the Tutta Bella restaurants, during that time, they had all the dining rooms were closed to the in-person dining. So they turned all the focus to takeout. And thankfully, all that heavy lifting of having those grab and go style products had already been completed. And during this really challenging and uncertain time came the big break for Tutta Bella. Very, very quickly, grocery stores realized that their customers, they really missed out on dining, going out to restaurants and enjoying that restaurant quality food at home during a pandemic. So lightning fast, they made space in the deli cases for displays of Tutta Bella products. And first it was 5 deli locations, then 10, then 20, and then all the way up to over 60 locations in a very, very short period of time. And oh my goodness, how do you make that next big leap successful without imploding your little company? So if you think about it, during that time, even though Tutta Bella was 16 years old and it had all the classic features of a new startup looking to launch its brand, it had amazing products, an incredible team, a radically dedicated customer fan base, and a fairy godmother / corporate giant asking us to come and play in their sandbox. It was still a small brand that needed to grow quickly. And we were in a very cash and resource constrained environment. So what next? How do you hold true to those artisan standards as you scale? How do you keep up with demand? How do you keep both the employees and customers happy? And can you imagine what it takes to go from a full service restaurant to the retail grocery industry? I personally had no idea. We went from teams of chefs and waiters and menus to barcodes, sales promotions, daily register reports. There were government regulations, nutritional labels, massive product data requirements, photography for the online ordering, production planning, distribution logistics, and all sorts of new business systems that needed a process to support them. To make it even more complicated, at the time that Tutta Bella was starting out, we weren't selling wholesale to these grocery stores. Instead, it was based on a consignment model. And so that the products were owned by us until they passed through those store registers. Every single day, the grocery store would send us emails with spreadsheets attached, reporting the sales for the previous day. There were pages and pages of data by location, by product, on every, just on every row of the spreadsheet. And you multiply that times 17 products at 63 locations every single day, and it became a mountain of unreadable data. I would dread opening my inbox every single morning. And I guess this would have been okay if we were selling bicycle parts and we had weeks to compile and analyze our data before needing to reorder and then manufacture and restock the shelves. But imagine salads and tiramisus with a 4 to 6 day shelf life. And again, don't forget about that owner who's got that uncompromising quality and freshness decree. So we had to deliver those products ourselves at least every other day to every single store. How do you track inventory and forecast on such highly perishable products? And I mean, really, how do you reconcile anything at all at that point? Lucky for us, the answer ended up being right under our noses. Microsoft Power BI, it was already built right into our existing software. And its tagline is literally, bridge the gap between data and decision-making. So at this point, I want you to remember that I am not a techie or a developer. I am just a business user who's really enthusiastic about technology. But by using Microsoft's Power Automate, I could easily strip those attachments right out of their daily emails and compile them into a single folder. Thus my comment about my favorite feature of Power BI being that ability to query an entire folder. Then using the transformation features of Power BI, I was able to take hundreds and hundreds of spreadsheets with nearly 500,000 rows of data and distill that information all down into simple visuals. These allowed us to compare top selling locations, sales growth, sales by geography, and top selling products in each category. And one day the sales managers came to me and they wanted to know, do you think the type of display case that the products are in might impact sales? How do you find that information out with just the basic sales reports and a separate spreadsheet of all the store names and their display types? Well, it's great because Power BI allows you to easily link these data sets together with no code needed. So how does sales relate to premium store locations, the weather, price changes, recipe modifications? The built-in data modeling features, they allowed us to connect our data sources and slice, dice, and filter all that data in a myriad of ways. And the beauty of it is that it's interactive, so that anybody who wants to see a different slice of the data can very easily do that without messing things up for everybody else. I think that was one of my favorite things when I explained to people, it's okay, you can't break this. As soon as I've handed it off to you, it is yours. So we started with pure sales data from 60 stores under the same retailer umbrella. But then what do you think happens next? Of course, we get picked up by one of the world's largest warehouse chains. And you can bet that that sales data came in a totally different format and shape. And then we started selling wholesale to a company that delivers direct to customers' doorsteps. We sold products from our food truck. And most recently, Tutta was invited to sell products at both of the major sports stadiums in Seattle. Huge, huge venues. And how do you mash all of that data into a consolidated sales report without spending hours and hours copying and pasting information into an Excel spreadsheet? Well, you know the answer by now. My suggestion would be Power BI. And even more compelling is the fact that we could automatically run refreshes every day when the files came in so that the visuals were practically ready on demand anytime that the executives wanted them. So Power BI reporting is unique in that it allowed us to take an iterative approach to wrangling our data. We didn't need to wait like a really long time on massive software implementations to be finished, to be able to start. We were able to be agile. And as soon as we had a handle on our sales data, we were able to then turn our focus towards the next set of important questions that we wanted to answer. We dug into delivery and inventory data. I even built the team some very simple Microsoft forms to gather data about those deliveries and any expired products that were being pulled from the shelves. And again, that data just could be automated to flow right through to Excel and then be easily incorporated into the Power BI reports. That data gave us information about and the ability to evaluate retail shrinkage. And when you think about it, so shrinkage, whether it's from theft or some other type of loss, those are products that you are throwing in the trash, that you've made and you've spent the money and they're going into the trash because they were stolen or they were, they expired on the shelf. And so shrinkage is a critical retail food metric that has immediate impact on the bottom line. And you can remedy it with a very focused approach, but only if you know where to look. And that's exactly what Power BI gave us. And once you start to connect those seemingly independent silos within a business, it's only natural that then you would start to turn the focus onto other areas of the business. For us, it was production efficiencies and cost. A huge concern for so many of the emerging food brands is about keeping it craft. How do you stick to the same quality and artisan nature as you shift into growth mode? So during this phase, it becomes really important to remove the guesswork of purchasing and production planning so that you can minimize your waste and track those labor expenses. And then inevitably, as it did for us, it comes time to start an ERP implementation, which, small or large, is going to provide thousands and thousands of new data points for you. But there's the beauty of it is that those Power BI connectors that are available for most systems. And if it's not even an issue, because Power BI really can connect to just about anything that you throw at it. So unlike other massive, costly, and really expensive business intelligence implementations, Power BI gives artisan food manufacturers the opportunity to take an agile approach to data. You don't need those on-site tech teams, business analysts, or even databases to get started. And I want people listening to set aside any preconceived notions about the cost and the time involvement with gaining this type of business intelligence. It doesn't need to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire in-house resources. And as a person who's straddled that technology and the business and the culinary world for so many years, I'm on a mission to make sure that artisan food manufacturers know that business intelligence, it's accessible for anyone poised for growth. And there's a way to reach that is via fractional business intelligence model. You can have a part-time Power BI specialist on contract or on retainer, and it allows you to then take that agile approach to tackling one metric at a time in a really, really cost-effective way. So I encourage all new and seasoned food brands to think about the data that you currently have to make your decisions. What is that gap? Are you making decisions based on incomplete data? And if you are, what is that costing? Are you wasting time in this indecision mode where you're due to unreadable data? The passion and tenacity that gets you to the brink of the next big thing, it might not be enough to take you to the next level, but just remember, it really, really is possible to get a holistic view of the company and make informed choices as you grow. So I would be happy to connect with anybody and talk about business intelligence, making it accessible on your journey.